Speaking of this government, have you heard of the passing of Bill 100, which would essentially stomp out anyone protesting along any major infrastructure? What do you make of that legislation?
I think it's just another scare tactic like they've been doing. They've been trying to do this and stop these protests for the last 2 years with no avail. You know, they haven't been able to stop it. I think this bill is just smoke and mirrors like everything else, and we have inalienable rights as Canadians. We have the Bill of Rights, and that's what we'll stand under no matter what.
But when all of us come together and all of us unify, they can't stop us. So I think it's finding your voice, helping others raise their voice, and just saying no. Let's go, Canada! Freedom!
Woo!
Thank you.
Tamara Ugolini here with Rebel News. The wind keeps blowing over my tripod, so while today is Good Friday, technically I'm supposed to be taking the day off. This doesn't stop freedom-loving Ontarians from exercising their civil liberties, and I'm here to cover it. In the background there is a freedom train. They're heading to Niagara Falls from Ottawa. They left early this morning and have a few pit stops to make along the way. The second of those pit stops, the scheduled stop, is here in Oshawa, Ontario. And while we've seen the continuation of Orwellian-worded legislation continue in Ontario under the supposed Progressive Conservative Party led by Premier Doug Ford. And while other legislation such as the Reopening Ontario Act remains in place with the ability for the government to reimpose all COVID restrictions on the snap of a finger. In a sneaky late-night voice vote and without informing all MPPs, the Ontario government's Bill 100, Keeping Ontario Open for Business Act, passed its third reading. It takes aim at any protest that could be seen as impeding necessary transportation infrastructure. If we recap some of the major truck protests that rippled across Canada late January to mid-February of this year, where truckers protested federal vaccine mandates and COVID-related restrictions, the most potentially disruptive of which was the Ambassador Bridge protest. Yet it was swiftly dealt with by the Ford government using existing legal tools weeks before the federal government enacted the Emergency Measures Act under highly controversial circumstances. Fast track to today, and Bill 100, which had its first reading on March 21st, is being stamped through the legislature in a sneaky overnight vote that happened sometime between April 13th and 14th. But the protesters aren't finished, and the Canadian government still refuses to end all COVID-related mandates. The hypocrisy couldn't be more evident as unvaccinated refugees are welcomed into Canada with open arms, while everyday unvaccinated Canadians are still banned from boarding a plane, train, or bus. So I'm going to head on into the crowd back there and see what the people have to say about the current state of affairs in Ontario and what brings them out to the Freedom Train today. Let's check it out. Okay, so what brought you out to support the Freedom Train today?
Well, I was one of the organizers for East Toronto for the Ottawa Freedom Convoy, and being a part of Durham Region, I found out that the train from Ottawa to Niagara was stopping here. I decided to come out and show support just because, at Rise Up Durham, we've been doing it for the last 2 years. So it's good to see a lot of people coming out and finally speaking their mind and letting this government know how they feel about it. So anytime I see something like this, I'll put my full support involved, no matter what.
Absolutely. So standing for freedom, the way the government has been taking away our rights, passing bills through government that we disagree with. We just want to show people that we are not a fringe minority. We are out here. And anybody who wants to join, we are true Canadian patriots. We just want the freedom to choose what goes in our body and not be told what goes in and out of our body. Do we draw the line with vaccines, or where's the government going to draw the line with that? So it's really important to me about what goes in my body.
Apparently this is for the freedom. So I came from a communist country. As you well know, the China, communist country China.
So what brought you out to the Freedom Train today?
For freedom of choice and for my kids. That they have a choice further down the road, or when they grow up, that they can make their own choices and whatnot.
Well, we're fighting for our freedom here in Canada against the WEF about the digital ID, vaccine mandates, all of it.
I'm in this freedom loving van. What brings you to be part of the Freedom Train today?
Yeah, well, I live out in Whitby, so I just came out to hop on in Oshawa to go down to Niagara and keep fighting for freedom. I was out there since the first day in Ottawa, and haven't really stopped since. Came back last week, pretty much for the first time, and now I'm back fighting for freedom out this way.
Speaking of this government, have you heard of the passing of Bill 100, which would essentially stomp out anyone protesting along any major infrastructure? What do you make of that legislation?
I think it's just another scare tactic like they've been doing. They've been trying to do this and stop these protests for the last 2 years with no avail. They haven't been able to stop it. I think this bill is just smoke and mirrors like everything else, and we have inalienable rights as Canadians. We have the Bill of Rights, and that's what we'll stand under no matter what.
Again, they're taking away our freedoms. We should have the right to protest when somebody disagrees with the government in a peaceful way. We're all very peaceful here, so I think we're just trying to show the love, unity, and support that we disagree currently with our rights and freedoms being taken away. The veterans have fought and died, for our rights and freedoms. And that's what we're here to do, is to stand up for that and stand in line with them and take our freedoms back, because we're not backing down from this.
I mean, they'll always try, but just a matter of charter challenges when the time comes, and we'll see how it goes from there.
As far as I've heard, it's already passed, and I think it's an illegal bill, and it's against the Charter of Rights for Canadians.
How do you think we get through this with the government, continuing the power grabs and the easing, but simultaneous, ability to impose the restrictions at the snap of a fingers? How do we move forward as Canadians to get out of this emergency once and for all?
Non-compliance. That's pretty much all I gotta say. Get out with your peers, speak with your family members, let them know what's going on. A lot of people are ignorant, and I don't mean that as in stupid, I just mean uneducated. The ignorance is bliss, like it always has been, and stop watching your TV. Yeah, just stop complying. Don't listen to what they tell you. Reach out to people like us at Rise Up Durham and all the other groups around, and we'll get you up to date with what's really going on and the news that you guys really need to see, just like you guys are Rebel.
Find the people who are going to stand up with you. When one person stands up, it's hard for them to stand up alone. But when all of us come together and all of us unify, they can't stop us. So I think it's finding your voice, helping others raise their voice, and just saying no. Let's go, Canada! Freedom! Woo! Thank you.
We just gotta keep up the noise that we're not gonna deal with it anymore. It's not that big of a deal. We need to get back to living our lives.
I don't know. It's stand up and fight the government. Stand up against them and fight for what you believe in.
That's what I'm trying to find out. I would love to know the answer to that question. Vote, vote, vote. Do your research and vote correctly, and hopefully we can stop it.
Vaccine passports were unscientific and unethical, and we called it from the beginning. It's why we have set up a special page to crowdfund litigation for plaintiffs in the unfortunate receiving end, who have been on the unfortunate receiving end of such heavy-handed policies. You can stay up to date with active litigation that wouldn't be possible without the generosity of our donors at fightvaccinepassports.com. At that website, you can donate if you're able to and sign our petition to end vaccine passports and mandates once and for all. That website again is fightvaccinepassports.com.